what is your relationship with creative collaborations and ideas in terms of has your experience been?
Okay.
Like in terms of, you're collaborating with somebody.
Yeah.
Obviously I want to hear about like the negative experience. Like the positive experience is the positive experience. Everything just kind of flows. Any ideas is viewed as, a possibility.
Yeah, I think
everything's open. Have you had negative experiences?
I have, yeah. I've had experiences, the first ones that I think of, and I, certainly won't say the individuals with whom I was working, but,
we're talking about you, Will. I don't actually know anybody.
Working on some screenplays with directors that my manager had connected us with, and we had, a spec screenplay, and we wanted to bring in a director so we could start to package things up, and that director has notes, or they want to do a page run rewrite or whatever, and you can just tell that ultimately they are serving their own self-interest, and they are going to use you as a writer who's working for free. They don't have any skin in the game. They don't have to pay you. There's no sort of downside for them to have you do their bidding, and you end up being sort of a tool that they have to try to help them achieve what they want for themselves in their career. And a lot of times that, to me, in those experiences, felt like it was very much based on, coming from a place of ego. On the flip side, whether it was in filmmaking, sometimes YouTube videos I've made with you guys or stuff that we've talked about, making this podcast, where you have collaborations with people where everyone is surrendered to making the thing the best it can be, and the ego is not present in that collaboration, and everybody is taking their experience, their taste, their eye for the truth, their eye for what feels right, and they are focusing that on the collaboration. And when ideas come up, it's, well, Cody had 2 good ideas in a row, and now it's my turn.
Yeah.
It's not,
yeah.
Well, I think, you guys don't really have a good idea of what this thing needs to be, so I'm going to kind of take over so that you don't steer it in the wrong direction. I'm going to really push my agenda by shooting down all of your ideas and not being open to actually listening to them, because I've already sort of dismissed you as a collaborator, but I'm going to keep up appearances.
Absolutely.
That whatever, just because I like working with this person on the team. None of that stuff, where everybody is just, again, open and surrendered. They listen to the idea. They, they put it up against the other ideas that are in play, their own idea that's in play. And maybe they can't go, well, no, let's go with this route. They go, that's not quite it. But that got me thinking, like, what about this? Or what if we did this? And you're all just working together to arrive at the best idea.
I think what you hit on right there is, what if we did this? What if we do this?
Yeah.
That's when it's at its best, right?
100%.
Like, I say something, you build off of that, I build off of that.
Ooh, that's cool. What if?
Yeah, okay.
And then you're inspiring each other. And
you can get in there, and you have to also be like, with the other person and with yourself, you have to be like, no, actually that was bad. I can see, like, that wasn't good. We don't need to do that. Let's not go in that direction.
Right.
And I think, I think that, like, again, it kind of goes back to drop the ego.
Yeah.
Get out of the ego. That's honestly, that's the response. That's the irony of it too, because a lot of your managers and directors and things like that have huge egos.
Yeah.
But when you're in that position, your job is kind of just to be open.
Yeah.
That's kind of the job. Just like you guide the conversation, and the ideas are going to come. You can give your ideas. Maybe you can provide that context that we talked about earlier.
Right.
But it's not, some people are out here and they're like managing groups of people, and they think they're managing because they have to always be right.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not the job description.
I think too, sometimes, there's levels of collaborators, or sort of collaborators that are not really participating in the true spirit of collaboration. You do have people that are they're locked into their ego, what's best for them, what they want, etc. Sometimes you have people that don't have ego, but there's some agenda, like something has sort of taken them over, whether it's like too much focus on the commercial result that it's going to get, even though it's a good idea, like, oh, that's not commercially viable. And even though my ego isn't driving that decision. It's this external force that you're answering to, like, oh, well, that might not test well, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's
or
getting...
if we use that camera, like the printing costs are really high. Yeah, it looks the best, but and so you have to sort of be like, is there an agenda that's at play in here that's influencing your openness and surrender and ability to surrender to the best idea? Because we can have that conversation after we acknowledge it's the best idea. Like, what's this idea going to cost us?
Yeah.
And can we afford it? And I don't mean money. I mean, it could be anything: time, money, tools, like acquiring the tools needed to execute that idea, whatever it is. And so you have to watch out for those folks too. Yeah. Because and again, not to go down the commerce and art rabbit hole, but sometimes that's a factor. You're working with a producer, a studio, you're working with an editor on assignment for a magazine, whatever it is, where there's these other forces at play that sometimes you ultimately have to answer to.
Yeah.
But in the ideation process, maybe we can set that aside.
That's it. Yeah.
Arrive at the idea,
the distinction,
and then come up with a solution.
Because it is expectations, just another form, right?
Yeah.
But that's the distinction,
right?
Is yes, these are all masters that you have to answer to at some point. Mm-hmm. But when you're in that base phase of just capturing ideas, you have to be open. And I think a lot of people miss this. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are more inclined to just, let's set the parameters, then we'll ideate, then we'll do the thing. Yeah. You have to be unchained. You can't box yourself in at the start. Anything's possible.
It had been a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the sunrise.